Okay, I'm going to paint that little Dalmatian puppy now. That little guy, he's stopping to smell the flowers, and so we're going to do him. I painted his mama. And what I'm using for his body is mixtures of my mud, which is alizarin crimson plus ultramarine blue plus a little bit of cadmium orange plus a little bit of more ultramarine blue and lots of white. So I want to make a gray, and so I do his body in the darker first, and then I'll come back and add the highlights. So, and I'll make his hindquarters a little bit bluer so that they go back. His front part of his body will be done with a little warmer mixture that has a little bit of more orange in it. Again, this follows that basic principle that warm colors come forward, cool colors go back. Now his back leg here is in shadow, so it's going to be fairly dark. Really not much detail on those legs, but just one his little back end here. Then we'll make his tail. This brush is probably a little bit too big. I'll get a smaller brush. These are all my square bright brushes. This is a number 4, so it's a pretty small brush, but it still has a square end, you can see. And I just like the chiseled ends. I prefer to paint with those. Did not get a real good clean stroke on that one, but I've got some of my greens. I save my colors, and being this oil paint, they stay fresh out on the palette for several days, so I can use those. I'm going to get even a smaller brush to do his tail. Again, I'm using a mixture of my mud plus ultramarine blue. No cadmium orange in this mix. So make his tail, then I'll come back and clean that up with my green mixture. There we go. His little tail. He just got distracted with those flowers. He's got to check them out. I just hear that mama saying, "Are you coming or not?" My mother always used to say that to me. I was always getting distracted with something here or there. You just got to stop and smell that flower. Let's clean up this edge just a little bit. There we go. So now I'm coming back to using a little bit larger brush. Now I'm using a little warmer mixture that has more of the cadmium orange in it. Let's put a little bit more blue right in there. This is very, very subtle, but it still works. Okay, this is I paint the entire dog first, then I'll come back and add the spots. Use a little smaller brush, and again, I just wipe my brush with tissue. A clean brush gives you clean color on your canvas. Now I'm coming back with a little bit of my mud just in here to give a little bit of definition in his body. There's a little bit lighter mixture here, that shoulder. He's in shadow pretty much. I'm going to let a little light hit his head, but he's pretty much in shadow. And he's at a distance, so I mean I'm not going to add just a lot of detail in those legs because you really wouldn't see it from this distance. I'm going to make that back leg a little bit darker. Bring a little shadow under here under his neck. I'm going to highlight his shoulder just a little bit. That point of his shoulder. His little leg there. Okay, now we're going to do his head. Start adding a little darker mixtures here on the, to give him some shape to his head. It's a little lighter here where his muzzle just comes out over his mouth. Then his ear comes out. It's going to catch the light up here. And on these puppies, their ears are pretty big in relationship to their body. We'll put some spots on there. Okay, I'm going to make a little bit of a shadow here from his ear and his head on that shoulder. Now I'm going to use a little bit of my mixture of mud plus a little bit of liquid. And I'll put his eye in. Eyebrow. He's got a little bit of dark right in here. His nose. Oops, got too much paint on there. Now I've got some of my flower color here. I'm going to bring in behind his nose. Now his muzzle here. A little more of my flower color to reshape that. Corner of his mouth. I'm going to come up here around his back of his head. I need to just get that shape just a little bit better. And I've got my greens in there. Now we're going to start adding, I want to add a little highlight onto his head where this catches a little bit of light. Now I'm using a mixture that I've added a little bit more white into that cooler mix. So I want these, the highlights on the mother are white plus a tiny bit of cadmium orange, and that makes a real warm white that comes forward. I don't want this to be that warm white, so this is the white plus a little bit of blue in it, ultramarine blue. Okay, now I'm going to give him a little eyelid, just teeny tiny, just a little bit of eyebrow here. There we go. Now let's add some spots. When I was a kid, 101 Dalmatians was one of my absolute favorite movies. Oh my goodness. So it's fun painting these Dalmatians. Now I'm using ivory black for my spots. I'm going to shape his ear a little differently. The top edge of that I don't like. It actually should be a little more rounded. There we go. And now we'll start making his spots. A spot up here. And the spots are, I mean, you can just kind of put them, they follow not sure how to say this, kind of the roll of the body. I don't quite know how to describe that. But like as they come down over the shoulder, they're not just perfectly round. They're oblong shaped because we're seeing them in perspective. I hope that makes sense. And as they come around the point of his shoulder, that oblong shape changes because we're seeing them more straight on. As they go under his chest, they become a little more elongated. Need to change this shoulder just a little bit. I don't have that right, but let me fix my green. Okay. Now, the point of this shoulder will come down a little bit and make this toilet tissue. This is going to come down here. There we go, like that. And then this goes, I'm going to have some spots going down here under his chest. The spots I'm making with ivory black, and painting over that white, they get a little bit grayer, which is good because I don't want them to be just straight, solid black. Now I am going to make this, as it comes down here between his front legs, I'm going to make this a little bit darker, just so that goes back. And now over his back, again, the spots are elongated. They're not, we don't want them just round polka dots. Now I'm going to bring a little light right here at the top of his shoulder, just to give him a little form. A little bit more. And then his feet, I'm just going to come down here. See just the shape of the little toes coming down here. This one I need to make a little bit darker here. And then I'm going to bring a little dark here just to give this leg some definition. I'm going to add a little light on the tip of his tail, just to make that stand out just a little bit. Not much. Just a little bit. I think his tail needs to be a little thicker. Now I'm going to add a little blue highlight right on the top of his rump. And I'm going to add a black spot right here underneath this white ear, just to coming over his shoulder. I don't like that. I think it looked better without that. So let's just go back, and it's just so easy to do. I'll just make a little bit of, make that a shadow underneath that ear. Just soften that a little bit. And then I'm going to make this light on the ear just a little bit lighter to come forward to that highlight on the shadow, on his shoulder. Give him a little light right there on the bridge of his nose. And that's our little Dalmatian puppy. I thank you for watching my YouTube videos. Please subscribe to my channel. I also have a blog where I show the complete step-by-step process of this painting as well as others I do. A link to the blog is in the description below. I also have the address on the final frame. Again, I thank you so much for visiting our studio today. You have a wonderful, wonderful day.